Welcome to week 4 of the Thavorian Skies Draft League. This week we're up against Evan and the Thavorian Aces. And Evan is a pretty scary opponent. He's the one who I played in the finals of the first season of this draft league. I did end up beating him, but he had a very scary Annihilate Mousehold team there. And this time he's got Mega Staraptor, also terrifying. Fortunately, he doesn't have a Whimsicott, but he does have the Grimmsnarl, which is a pretty strong partner to that Staraptor. It can go for stuff like Fake Tears, Parting Shot. It can also just set up screens to make the Staraptor bulkier. Staraptor usually also carries Roost, so if you let that thing become too bulky, it can make itself unkillable. So we are focusing a lot on heavy offense this week to try to make sure to break through that Staraptor before it becomes a big problem. And the other things in the team, there's a lot of other bulky things that he has that high offense is going to be very useful against. Orthworm can set up iron defenses and stuff. Abomasnow is pretty bulky, especially with the snow. Empoleon has just got a good defensive typing, hard to take down. Ariados can use Rage Powder to protect the teammates. There's a lot of scary things that could come out of this team. So we are going super aggressive, super offensive, trying to take things out before they can really become a big problem. So we got Aerodactyl, as usual, a good Pokemon for aggression. This time it is my only Mega, so we are going to be Mega evolving it. We're max attack to get those Tough Claws dual wing beats out and do as much damage as possible. Dual wing beats pretty good into this team. Aside from the steel types, there's nothing else that resists it. So obviously, it's not going to be doing a ton to Orthworm or to Empoleon, but anything else, we're going to be able to just hit the dual wing beats. It obviously threatens Staraptor for a ton of damage. Should one-shot Staraptor unless it's really bulky. Should one-shot Ariados. Maybe a Citrus Berry can keep it alive, but it's still going to do a ton of damage to it. And then we also have the Stone Edge option, mostly for the Chandelure. But it's also just, if we need some extra power. I mean, it's around the same power as Dual Wing Beat, but it does have that high crit. But yeah, that is mostly going to be there for Chandelure, because Chandelure is pretty scary. And then we got Tailwind, pretty standard. Even though this team is very fast, Evan has various methods of speed control. He could be running Tailwind on Staraptor. He could also have Thunder Wave on Grimmsnarl. A potential Icy Wind from something like Empoleon. Hydreigon can also run Tailwind. Espathra has got Speed Boost. I'm not sure if it gets any means of lowering the speed of my Pokemon, but even still, the Speed Boost means that I may want to be able to use Tailwind to outspeed it. And the Protect. Almost everything on this team is going to have Protect, as you'll see, because he doesn't have like an Encore to punish it, and he does have a lot of single target damage, most notably that Staraptor. Staraptor hits really hard, but it doesn't get any good spread moves. So if we can, shut down the Staraptor for a turn by guessing its target correctly. Obviously, Mamoswine can Earthquake, Chandelure can Heat Wave, Abomasnow can Blizzard, so there are potential multi-target moves we do potentially have to worry about, but I want to make sure to have Protect, so especially because a lot of this team is not very bulky. So if something's in trouble, we want to be able to protect it. And that goes for everything except for the one which has a Choice Scarf. And it's not going to take long for you to see what that is, because it is the Floette this time. The Choice Scarf has been in various places. I don't think I've used it on that much yet, but there's definitely a number of things in this team that can make use of the Choice Scarf, but Float is one of them. It's not the fastest. 92 base speed is not going to be amazing here. It's slower than Hydreigon, and it's slower than Staraptor, and it threatens both of those immensely, so I want it to be faster than them. Hence the Choice Scarf. We have 3 Fairy moves, because honestly, I didn't see any other move really being worth running. The fairy moves are good into this team except for Empoleon, Chandelure, Orthworm, and Ariados. And pretty much all of those, there's nothing else good that Floette can really learn. The exception would be it can learn Psychic, which could deal with Ariados, but like basically Floette's coverage options are Psychic. You got a bunch of grass moves like Energy Ball, Grass Knot, Giga Drain, and then you got Pollen Puff, and that's pretty much it. So unfortunately, not a ton in the coverage department, and none of those help against Steel types, and also none of them help against Chandelure. Really, you can go neutral Psychic into Chandelure. That does less than Light of Ruin. Dazzling Gloom was kind of my answer to Ariados. We can't KO Ariados with this. We can with a lot of other Pokemon on this team. But this can't KO Ariados, but if we Dazzling Gleam, then I don't really have to worry about the Rage Powder. And yeah, I mean, I might have to worry about it hitting me with like a Poison Jab or something. But we've also got Trick that could potentially mess up the Ariados. I'm nervous about clicking Trick because, like I said, I really want this Floette to be fast, and I also really don't want to make a lot of his mid-speed Pokemon like faster. Like giving Empoleon a Choice Scarf could actually backfire really hard if it locks into something like a Steel move or like an Icy Wind that really messes up my team. So I have to be careful about how I use Trick. I'm almost thinking I might be more likely to trick a teammate. And speaking of which, we're also Symbiosis, which means that if my teammate consumes an item, then we will pass it the Choice Scarf. And again, that could backfire because I may need that Choice Scarf on Floette, but as it happens, there's only one Pokemon on my team that can consume its item. And when we get to that Pokemon, I'll explain why I did this, because it can go really well. It could be really interesting and powerful. So I'm not expecting Symbiosis to trigger, but again, its other abilities, Flower Veil, does nothing without a Grass type on your team. So I figured having Symbiosis was more useful than not. And I guess if all else fails, we can trick the Scarf back if we really need it. Like that's probably silly, but it's a possibility. So moving on, we have Feraligatr. Feraligatr I thought was pretty good into this team because he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any grass or electric types, other than Abomasnow, which is slow and is threatened by Feraligatr's low kick. So the Abomasnow is the only thing that really threatens Feraligatr here, and I'm not too scared of Abomasnow because it's a Mega. It would take away his slot for Mega Staraptor. I highly doubt he doesn't bring a Staraptor into this matchup. I guess he might not. But Staraptor is like his flagship Pokemon. So if he brings Mega Abomasnow, he can't Mega Evolve it really if he wants to Mega Evolve Staraptor. And base Abomasnow is just, it doesn't scare me. I'm just not scared of it. I've got a Typhlosion, you can see. Even Floette does a bunch to it. Aerodactyl should just take it out. Kommo-o with fighting moves also threatens it. So that's the only thing that really threatens Feraligatr with stab super effective damage. I'm not expecting any like super strong, electric moves. I mean, maybe I'm not sure which of these Pokemon even gets strong electric moves. I don't think Hydreigon gets like Thunderbolt. So you might get like a Thunder Punch on Grimmsnarl, but I expect that Grimmsnarl is going to have at least Parting Shot for the Staraptor, possibly also Fake Tears. I am scared of Fake Tears, because if I lead Floette and I try to just blow up the Staraptor with Light of Ruin or with Moonblast, then he could Fake Tears into the Staraptor, and then it will survive that, and then it could potentially one-shot the Floette, and that could be a problem. But yeah, I'm not expecting any electric moves. Probably not expecting any grass moves. Maybe a Energy Ball from Chandelure, but Feraligatr is the only thing on this team that would even matter for, because I'm not bringing Crocodile. And we are EV'd to survive. Like the amount of HP and Speed F we have here, we do always survive an Energy Ball from the Chandelure anyway. So we got Dragon Dance, because Feraligatr's speed tier is a bit awkward. 78 puts it just slower than Mamoswine, and I believe also slower than Chandelure. And it's obviously slower than Hydreigon and Espathra and stuff, and Staraptor. Dragon Dance lets it outspeed everything in the absence of some sort of speed control. And since the water typing is useful here, there's not it's not super likely he's going to be able to one-shot this thing unless he doubles into it, and since it has Protect, I mean, that's dangerous. Once we get our Dragon Dance up, those Sheer Force Life Orb liquidations are going to hit hard. He doesn't have a ton of resists for it. The Abomasnow resists it, and the Empoleon does, but that's it, and Hydreigon. But all those things are weak to Low Kick, which is not Sheer Force boosted, sadly, so we will take Life Orb Recoil. That's why our HP is optimized to end with 9, so we take the minimum Life Orb Recoil there. But Low Kick is just good. It's at least 80 power into everything on this team that I might want to click a Low Kick into. Hydreigon, I think it's 100. I don't remember all the details, but Orthworm is max. It's 120. I think Empoleon's maybe 100. I think Abomasnow is also 100 or 80 maybe. But all those are pretty good Low Kick targets. And that's going to do a good amount of damage, even without a Dragon Dance, but especially with one. We're probably not getting a one-shot on something like Orthworm, which has a ton of defense. But we'll get a lot of damage on things for sure. And since we've got, like, for instance, the Float with Dazzling Gleam, or an Aerodactyl with a random dual wing beat, like, there's a lot of ways that we might be able to clean up. There's also, as you'll see, Como is also meant for cleaning up things that we don't quite one-shot, but we'll get there. First, the Typhlosion, which has a Focus Sash. So this, as I said, is the only Pokemon that we can actually trigger Symbiosis off of, and we're Blaze this time with the Focus Sash. The idea is that this Typhlosion is pretty heavily threatened by a lot of things on this team. Empoleon with the water moves, Grimmsnarl with Sucker Punch is going to hurt. Chandelure is the same type as me, but we both threaten each other with Ghost moves. Typhlosion is faster than Chandelure, but might not one-shot it. And Chandelure also could be Scarf. That's a thing that I could certainly imagine. And then the Mamoswine, again, Mamoswine is slower, but probably will be thick fat, so we don't one-shot it. So a lot of things can take this thing down to its Sash. The Blaze means that once we're down to Sash, we can fire off a massive Overheat. And if we've got the Scarf from Float, then now we can fire off that massive Overheat, basically outspeeding everything else. And that can one-shot almost anything on this team if it's not bulky, if it doesn't resist fire, of course. It's just going to do a huge chunk to something. And of course, since we do have Protect, we can hold off for a turn on triggering that. And even multiple turns. I mean, I could switch the Typhlosion out if I'm being pressured by Sucker Punch or some other priority move, or a Speed Boosted Espathra. I can switch the Typhlosion out. When I bring it back in, it's still going to be on 1 HP with a Focus or with a Choice Scarf, with Blaze active. Obviously, we're not clicking Eruption when we're on low HP. I did think about Heat Wave. Heat Wave is better if I'm scared of getting Sucker Punched, but I kind of felt like there are a number of situations in which this thing will be faster than what he has, even though it's not max speed. With this speed tier, it's still faster than Chandelure and Mamoswine. It's going to be slower than Hydreigon, but it would be anyway. So Hydreigon and Staraptor are the things, and Espathra, are the things that would be threatening this that I might not want to click Eruption in front of. But, I mean, Hydreigon, we can't do anything to it anyway, so we're probably switching out in front of that. But, yeah, this thing is kind of my ticket to deal with the Steel types, especially the Orthworm. Originally, I was thinking about going like Earthquake on Aerodactyl, but Orthworm's Earth Eater is a big problem. It basically means we need special fire or fighting damage to deal with those. And then this is also a good answer to the Chandelure and the Espathra, both being weak to Ghost. So we have Mousehold. I really wasn't sure about Mousehold in this matchup. He does have a lot of resists to Population Bomb, having 2 Steel types and a Ghost type. But nothing is an answer to everything. Like I don't have to expect that any particular Pokemon is good into every single thing that he's got. And anything that's not a Steel type or a Ghost type is going to not like that Population Bomb. Staraptor probably will drop to it unless it's really bulky or it's already got like a defense boost. Grimmsnarl would need to click Reflect in order to survive. Abomasnow probably survives because of the snow, but it does a chunk. should take out Mamoswine, which is a Focus Sash possibility. I think Focus Sash Mamoswine is pretty common. Ariados might survive it if it's bulky enough. It's got a Citrus Berry. Espathra we should be able to take out. Hydreigon we should be able to take out. So Population Bomb is pretty strong, and crucially, Maushold is 1 point faster than Staraptor. So that's why I ran basically like a turbo-aggressive set here. I didn't really bother putting any bulk on it. Instead, what we have is Substitute. So I can hopefully like dissuade him from targeting this thing too heavily between Protect and Substitute. I can kind of almost like, or, bait him into targeting it. But I'm only going to pull out the Population Bomb when I think it's right, and I can play defensively with it the rest of the time, because, if this thing takes a big hit, it is probably just going to go down. And so with the Encore, we kind of discourage his other Pokemon from protecting, which is good because I have a lot of burst damage, like, with the Floyd, the Aerodactyl, and the Feraligatr. Mostly are single target damage. Flood can do Dazzling Gleam, but I'd rather not. So if those things are next to the Maushold, then I can like protect the Maushold or sub with the Maushold, fire off a big attack with one of those things, and if he protects that attack, then I can Encore it on the next turn. Or I can just launch like a double attack, like a Pop Bomb plus something else into that same slot again to guarantee some damage there. So how I use the Maushold will be a bit situational. I am going to try to only click Pop Bomb where I expect it to get a KO, because otherwise I'm probably just getting KO'd in return. But Substitute is basically always a good thing to click, right? Unless I'm getting doubled into... I'll take... If I sub and then they immediately break the sub, I'll take a quarter of my health. But since this Maushold has no bulk on it at all, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't really, it doesn't really prevent it from surviving something that it probably otherwise would have. The only exception is maybe like a dual Wing Beat from Staraptor. If he knows I got a Substitute up, he could break it with the first hit and then do not sure how much it does, maybe 50%. Which could be a problem if I've chipped myself down with Substitute. But yeah, this mouse is mostly for blowing things up. And if we can manage to get a sub that isn't broken, then now he has to be really scared of it. Because he'd have to double into it to break the sub. We've basically got guaranteed Pop Bomb off. We can always protect while the sub is up to try to catch him doubling into me. And, odds are the thing next to Maushold is also going to be threatening a lot of damage, because everything on this team threatens a lot of damage, including the Como, which is max special attack Black Belt, so that we can miss Focus Blasts with 20% more power. We have Focus Blast because Aura Sphere is not enough to take out some of these bulky Pokemon, such as Hydreigon and Empoleon. So, as inconsistent as Focus Blast is, I really wanted something that can one-shot the Steel types, particularly the Empoleon, because Orthworm is fragile enough that it would have probably gotten one shot by Aura Sphere, but the other ones are not. But the other reason we got the Black Belt is because we have Vacuum Wave. You may have noticed that my roster doesn't have a lot of priority on it. I think I did mention this as a weakness in my draft analysis. I don't have a lot of good Pokemon with priority moves. We do have some, like Aqua Jet on Feraligatr and Faint on Maushold, but those aren't amazing typings here. But the Vacuum Wave is a good typing. It can actually do really meaningful damage to the things that are weak to fighting on this team, which is like half of them. Empoleon, Abomasnow, Orthworm, Mamoswine, and Hydreigon all do not enjoy a Vacuum Wave. They're obviously not going to get one shot by it, but this is what I was talking about with cleaning up, where if we can hit it for like half its health with something like Feraligatr or Typhlosion, or really anything on this team can chip almost anything down to half health. And then if it's weak to fighting, Como-O with the Vacuum Wave can just finish it off. And the ability actually is Overcoat. So I was really tempted to go Bulletproof because it completely walls Chandelure. Because, we resist the fire moves and we are immune to the Shadow Ball. This is a similar thing to what I pulled against the Golden Go previously. But I actually went with Overcoat because I'm scared of Rage Powder from the Ariados. Maybe Ariados won't come and I'll feel silly, but the worst thing that can happen with this Vacuum Wave is if it gets redirected into a Bug Poison type. And I really don't think he's going to expect Overcoat. I think he's going to expect Bulletproof. I'm not sure if you watched my previous video, but I think he's going to expect Bulletproof, and I think he's going to be hesitant to click Shadow Ball into it. And I think he's going to, especially once he knows it has Vacuum Wave, I think he's going to feel safe with Ariados to Rage Crowder away the Vacuum Wave. And so that could enable me to pick up a huge knockout that he isn't expecting. And even if, we do get Shadow Balled, I mean, it's not gonna one-shot me. Chandeler's strong, but Como is bulky enough, especially because this is the one thing I don't have speed investment on. Because the way Komo's base stats are, it just gets so much extra bulk from investing in HP because its defenses are high and its HP is pretty low. So you really want to put some HP on this thing. It makes it a lot bulkier. And since we're kind of middling speed anyway, yeah, if I were max speed, I could outspeed Mamoswine and Chandelure. But I don't honestly care that much because I have the Vacuum Wave, and I think Mamoswine's probably going to be Sash. Like, if we Focus Blast the Mamoswine, it hits me back with an Icicle Crash, which we should always survive. And then, we can take it out with Vacuum Wave. Now, Ice Shard could be a problem. Depending on how offensive that thing is, we might end up dying to Icicle Crash and Ice Shard, so it's something to watch out for. Obviously, there's a lot of things I can do to prevent that from being a problem, but it is something to keep in mind that Ice Shard would be a problem. But like barring opposing priority moves, the Vacuum Wave should mean that I'm not super worried about my speed here. And then we got Clanging Scales. It's honestly not amazing. Could have been Draco Meteor. Wanted just some other move, and there really wasn't, an amazing option. This is super effective on Hydreigon, which the fighting moves also are, so that's not really that important. It's more just that, anything that isn't weak to fighting is gonna at least take neutral damage from Clanging Scales, except Grimmsnarl. And Grimmsnarl's not actually that bulky. So, a Focus Blast is still going to do a bunch to it. But, yeah, that's the team. I'm nervous, honestly. Every week so far, it has felt really difficult to build a team. I like having this roster because it's so flexible, but it does mean that I don't have kind of like an obvious center point. Like, if you've got something like Evan's team, you got that Staraptor Grimmsnarl, and that's a good starting point. Something that can exert a lot of pressure kind of automatically, whereas I really have to work to put together like where my big pressure, where my big threats are going to come from could be completely different every week. So I've got to really decide and pick and choose what's best for the current week. But it's been fun. I'm cautiously optimistic about this team, but Evan is a very strong player. He's attended a bunch of regionals. I think he top cut at a recent one, like 5th place or something. He's a very, very strong player. So this is going to be a tough match regardless, but we will try our best. All right. We're about ready to start. So let's get into it. What do we got? Okay, Staraptor. Mostly what I expected. The Abomasnow I wasn't sure about, but we do have that. None of the steel types. It's actually so nice. So there's no dual wing beat resists here. There's a couple of fairy resists still, but the Floet's still really good here. We probably don't need Komao because it was mostly there to help deal with these steel types. I think we want the top 3 for sure. And maybe the mouse? Maybe Typhlosion. I think I want to just lead Aerodactyl Floet, probably. Might be Fake Out into Floet. We'll see if the Grim has Fake Out. There's not much that's faster than Typhlosion here. It could actually be a Typhlosion Floet lead. With these two, do we want for Alligator? Frog Eyes, I guess the low kick isn't really necessary. Let's go with the mouse. So we might, I said we weren't likely to get Symbiosis, we might end up getting it right off the bat. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, the thought here is that Typhlosion can't be faked out. So I think this could just be a Moonblast into Grim and a Shadow Ball into Chandelier. This might be Light Screen, but even if it is, we should threaten 2 shots. We'll also get to see if it's Scarf Chandelier, if it outspeeds Typhlosion. I think this is pretty fine. Okay, Sucker Punch. Okay, well, we get our Symbiosis right off the bat, which is very funny. So I guess now we don't know if it's Scarf Chandelier. It's probably that one shot. Oh, it does nice. Okay, if that was Scarf Chandelier and that was a double into Typhlosion, then that was one of the most insane. That was one of the most insane outcomes in that case. We get a double KO. We're scarfed into Shadow Ball now, but that's not terrible. And we can switch out to get the Blaze Overheat if we need that later. Okay, Ariados and Abomasnow. Yeah, we definitely want to block into a fire move here. So, Float. I could just trick away whatever the Ariados has. That'd be funny. I mean, this might be Rage Powder. I think I'm okay just clicking Light of Ruin. Even if it is Rage Powder, it's going to do some decent damage. And I don't think we want to switch Aerodactyl in to a potential Ice move. Like if this is Blizzard, not sure if Mouse will take it, it might. But even if it doesn't, Aerodactyl just threatens flying moves into. He must have been going. Okay, he must have been going for Trick Room. This has to be a Trick Room team because there's no speed control here otherwise. Okay, first impression. Wow. Okay, so he's Sniper, probably Scope Lens. We missed the Light of Ruin. That is unfortunate. We should still be good. I am curious if that Ariados has Sucker Punch. I think I'll bring out Arrow. And, I mean, we should be fine here to just Light of Ruin again. And do a Wind Beat, the Ariados. If it's Sniper, it's probably Scope Lens, which means that it doesn't have like a Citrus Berry, so it shouldn't survive this. Even with Scope Lens, that was still a 1 in 8 crit on first impression, so that's pretty unfortunate. But, okay, yeah, so that dealing with that Chandelier is priority number 1. And Typhlosion, that's interesting. It probably was a roll, because if he's really Trick Room, then it must be bulky. I mean, I guess it could have been Scarf, and he was just relying on the speed control from the Scarf. Okay, so it does have Rage Powder. We take out the Ariados. And we get a big Light of Ruin off. Let's see how much this does. That'll be good information. Okay, so it's pretty bulky. So if this has Ice Shard, we actually lose this off of that other Light of Ruin miss and the first impression crit, which would be pretty unfortunate. Or if we miss Overheat here. Okay, we don't miss over. He doesn't have ice shards. That is fortunate. Yeah, because I think that first impression crit wouldn't have that wouldn't have KO'd if it didn't crit. Ariados has no attack. That was just because it was sniper that it KO'd there. So we take game 1 with a curious tech. So I feel like that Chandelier. So I don't understand what the point of bringing that team was if he isn't going to Trick Room, but I also think if the Chandelier, you know, I'm actually just gonna throw this calc in here real quick. 32 modest. Okay, yeah, if he's max HP, max special attack, so it probably was Trick Room. If he's max HP, max special attack, it's a 62.5% chance to KO. So he probably was going for Trick Room. And that means I think for Alligator is quite useful here if he tries that again. I kind of want to lead for Alligator just so I can threaten the Chandelier. And I mean, Floet's pretty good. Yeah, Floet's pretty strong. Ariados, I guess it might be Ariados Chandelier lead. So I might want to lead this just to deal with the Ariados. That's not bad. And then I think we do want Typhlosion in the back. So if he doesn't lead the Chandelier, like if you lead Staraptor, then we can go for the Dragon Dance. Or maybe just switch for Alligator out, because the Intimidate is going to be annoying. There's a chance he didn't go Intimidate, because he was worried about Meowstic female, which is something I did consider. Okay, so it is these two. So I called that basically perfectly. We can just go dual Wing Beat into the Ariados and Liquidation. If he's Trick Room, then there's no way he's got speed on that thing, so... My Alligator has some speed investment. It should outspeed that. And he's not Focus Sash. We also know that on the Chandelier. Okay, he does just go Rage Powder. He might be Pasho Berry. That'd be interesting because my only water type is like a pretty low point Mon. I wouldn't have expected for Alligator to be such a high priority to play around. Especially when I have a rock type. Oh yeah, he's not Pasho Berry. No way it's surviving that, yeah. Okay, pretty good spot. Snow's out. And Grimmsnarl. So he does have Sucker Punch. I think I just double into the Grimm, because I do have Typhlosion in the back. So I think if I just go Liquidation, and Grimm probably doesn't have Protect, Liquidation, Dual Wing Beat, that should be good. Abomasnow's slow, and if this is a Trick Room team, then it's not... He might have Reflect here. Okay, he just goes Fake Out. That's reasonable. He'll probably take me out with Blizzard. But I can just walk in and... Well, I guess I don't click Eruption because he can Sucker Punch me. I mean, I can just bring Typhlosion in and click Protect, honestly, and Liquidation the Grimm. That probably works. Yeah, I think that works. He might have, like, Wood Hammer, or I guess Energy Ball if he's special. So if this Grimm somehow has Protect, there's no way it does. Okay, yeah, he tries to Sucker Punch me. We get our liquidation off. We should be fine here. Just click eruption. He might take another KO if he goes for a grass move here. I just go Blizzard again. Well, I am really happy about the Symbiosis call. I guess the Symbiosis actually didn't end up mattering because it wasn't Scarf Chandelier. We'll just go low kick. I don't think it'll be necessary, but interruption. It is funny that we got to see the Symbiosis at least. I mean, the sash on Typhlosion was really big. I was thinking the Sucker Punch might happen, and it's possible that he has some Split F investment and that Shadow Ball was like a worse roll, but still I think pretty good prep on my part. But yeah, I'm glad we got through that. I'm glad we didn't see the Staraptor. I mean, even though I prepped a lot for the Staraptor, it's still a really scary Pokemon. Like, you get some... Honestly, yeah, the fake Tears could have been a huge issue, like, with Floette. If he just fake Tears to block the Floette, he gets the Intimidate off on the Aerodactyl. Like, that could be trouble, even with what I had brought. So, we managed to catch him with the Hyper Offense, not letting him trigger him up. Pretty clean set, honestly. So nice match. I'm 3-1 now, pretty good. And I'll see you next week.